Hey everybody, Mr. Regan here, and we're looking at the last question for our review. That's going to have us looking at a situation in our simulator and deciding, based on the object's change in velocity, which one experienced the larger force. So a very similar question to the last one, but we have a different situation occurring here. And if you notice, we have object A, B, and C, and now object A, B, and C all have different masses. Object A has a mass of 1, object B has a mass of 2, object C has a mass of 4. And each of these objects had a force applied to them and this force caused the velocity to change. So let's take a look at what happened. Object A started with a velocity of 1 and it ended with a velocity of 0. So it changed its velocity by -1. Object B had the same start velocity of 1, changed to 0 as well, and had a change of velocity of -1 to 0. And object C had the exact same thing happen. It had the same start, so it was moving to the right one, stopped, and had a change of 1. So all of our objects were moving to the right with a velocity of 1. All three of them had a force applied. All three of them stopped. So based on how they all started with the same velocity, have all different masses, all stopped, and all had the same change in velocity, we got to decide which one experienced the larger force. Our answers are object A experienced the larger force, object C experienced the largest force, or they all experienced the largest force, or the same force in this case. So take a second, knowing how their start velocity, their end velocity, their change velocity, and their different masses all apply to helping us understand and answer this question. Pick your choice, pause the video, start it up to review your answer. All right, think you got it? Let's take a look. So our key concepts that we're focusing on today is, number one, understanding the cause and effect relationship can help us figure out what the particular result was. So the cause is this force that's being applied to these different massed objects. The effect is how they all started, stopped, and changed the same for all of their velocities. So they all have different masses. They all started the same. They all stopped. They all changed the same. So question is, how do we figure this out? Well, we know that if the same force is exerted on two objects and the objects have different masses, the object with less mass will have a greater change in velocity. So we know that if we apply the same force to all three of these, we would see A move fast, B move the second fastest, and C move the slowest. But we don't see that. We see they all stopped. They all started the same. They all stopped. A isn't moving faster than B. B isn't moving faster than C. They all have the same velocity. So if they all have different masses and they all have the same velocity at the end, then we know, well, they all can't have the same force. That doesn't make any sense. A would be moving if they had the same force, faster than all the others, but that's not happening. Well, we have to look at the mass. Each of these have a different mass, with C having the largest mass. We know that it takes more force to slow down a larger mass. So the answer is object C experienced the largest force because it stopped, just like the rest. If we were to run this in our simulator and rewind the simulation, we know that they started with 1, they all stopped, they all changed with 1, but when we look at the force that was needed, C needed a larger force to stop it, which makes sense. They're all moving the same way. They all have the same velocity. If we're going to stop all three, we need a larger force to stop the larger mass. And we would need a smaller force to stop the smaller mass. So that's how we figure out the answer to that question. If you have questions, please reach out. Otherwise, good job.